good morning, and welcome to Green Pass Gaming Sunday coffee morning with gaming chat and hopefully a coffee if you've got one. I'm your host Flap, and as you can see today, we have all four corners of the GPG crew. Welcome, Pucks, Luke, Scott. Hope you're doing good.
Morning, everyone. Yeah.
Got a couple of good topics today, and there's probably a few others that we will wander into as well. So probably without any further ado, let's get straight into today's show. Typically lasts about an hour, so let's get this done. And the first one, first topic that I posted on the thumbnail or the YouTube link was around more details on Halo Season 2, and perhaps Scott, you're the person that perhaps leads with this for the time being. Some more details have come out. Some good, perhaps some less so good on some level, I guess. What's your take on it, and what are the details?
Yeah, morning everyone. I think it's the news. It's not necessarily that there's some good, some not so good. There's definitely some good in there, Flap. I think the not so good element is there's maybe not enough in some capacity, or a lot of the stuff that they've discussed is coming in the future, maybe rather than coming as part of season 2. So they've kind of released a couple of different what they refer to season 1 outcome reports, I believe they've called them, and they have focused on kind of the gameplay, the live service, battle pass progression, that sort of thing. And to be fair, as somebody who's played about 150 hours of Infinite so far, but I have not played an awful lot recently. I have actually given it a bit of a break over the past couple of weeks or month or so. I'm actually really excited for the stuff that they've shown. So the main things are they've highlighted a lot of the stuff we kind of already knew. There's a new map. For Arena, a new map for BTB, and they're bringing back a revamped version of King of the Hill, whatever that might mean. They're also bringing a free-for-all mode called Last Spartan Standing, which may have some gun game elements to it from some leaks that we've seen in the past week. And I believe there is another mode called Land Grab, which they're not really given too much information on. On top of that, they've kind of announced some slight changes to the overall sandbox. I think the Mangler's getting a bit of a nerf, which is a little bit controversial in the in the community because it's unbelievably powerful in the right hands, but it's kind of one of those things that's hard to use. So therefore, it seems worth the risk, but they're giving a little bit of a nerf to the Mangler, and then they've kind of outlined some of the changes to the Battle Pass and the challenge system. So the first thing that they've announced is the Battle Pass is going to come with 1,000 credits. So Pucks, you've been playing Fortnite recently, man, haven't you? So you know how on Fortnite you buy the Battle Pass, and then if you complete the Battle Pass, you get enough credits to buy the next Battle Pass back.
Yes.
So that wasn't part of Season 1's Battle Pass. And I think really the position for them was they've kind of got this system where the battle pass never expires, so they didn't incorporate that feature that pretty much every other battle pass is. But now they've announced that it's actually coming back. So the interesting thing about the season 2 battle pass is you're going to get enough credits to buy the season 3 battle pass, plus it never expires, which I think is quite good. They've changed sort of how the rewards are laid out, so it should be a little bit better for the free tier, and you should just feel a little bit more rewarded for going through the progression. The weekly ultimate challenges have been completely changed, and honestly, that's one of my biggest gripes with the game at the moment is the weekly challenges are awful. So you're not going to get little shitty emblems anymore. You're going to get things like stances, visors, not armor cores, but I can't remember what they call the color schemes. What are they called again, mate? The colors for the armor cores. Oh, I've got a name for them. I can't remember.
Yeah, what did they call them? Yeah, I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
Whatever they're called, but basically they're going to have more of that in the challenges, which I think is great. On top of that, obviously it's going to be a little bit of a shorter season. They've got a new Tenrai event, and the armor looks pretty interesting. And it probably should mention the season two is called Lone Wolves. Season 1 was called the Heroes of Reach, and the new armor cores that come with the battle pass do look pretty good. that's kind of the good stuff. The bad stuff is largely around just what's not coming. So they've discussed a lot of things like an overall career progression system similar to Halo 5's, which they've said is in the early planning stages. They've spoken about more changes that they're going to be doing, which are maybe way off in the future. Obviously, we already knew co-op was going to be delayed to at least mid season 2. So personally, as like I say, someone who's I guess a little bit lapsed on Infinite, I'm really excited to jump back in. Season 1 was a bloody a long season, pretty much 6 months. So looking forward to jumping into the map, seeing the changes, and hopefully this is the start of like a regular cadence of updates, maps, changes, things like that. That'll kind of keep the gameplay fresh.
Yeah, well, hope so. I mean, Luke, I don't know how hard you've fallen off Halo, if you have at all. Is this going to be enough? Say again?
Holo.
Hello.
Halo, sorry. Yeah.
I don't know Holo from time to time.
Do you know how hard you'd fallen off of Halo? And whether this is going to be enough to entice you back, really, because there's only a couple of extra maps, a few bits and bobs. I don't know. Is the season pass updates enough to rein you back in, do you think? And to be honest, not just yourself, do you think it will be enough to rein the community back in as well for those that have fallen off?
Yeah, I think I still play it semi-regularly, so I'll still play it at least once a week, sometimes twice. I'll keep playing, and I'm happy that round the corner there's more stuff, so that's good. For people who have really dropped off hard, I think some people will come back, but 2 maps and a mode, it's not enough to keep people there, and it depends on really the real test is okay. You'll have this content drop. How long is it till the next content drop? That's what will keep people in. So if that's not very long, then they should have a player boost, but they're really going to struggle to get a big portion of players back, I think. It has a hardcore base now, which is good for them. A bit like games like Overwatch have, where most players have died off, but you can still quite easily get games because there's still a really hardcore play base, even though the game's not getting content. So I think Halo will be like that, but I think they would have to do something a bit more radical to really boost their numbers way back up again. For me, I'm happy with getting more stuff though, particularly big team battle maps, which I think were the ones that are there are good, but there's just not enough of them. So it'll be good to have at least another.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's going to be enough to rope me back in. Pucks, you like your battle royales? Will last Spartan stand-in kind of? Would you be intrigued with that? I mean, like you say, you don't mind your battle royales, do you? Or particularly Fortnite, I guess.
No, I don't. But it's a weird one. I don't know. I remember like pre-Halo when we all played the beta and really enjoyed it. I remember saying one of those shows then that I could see myself playing it for a long time to come. But then obviously since the lack of content and stuff, like as Luke was saying, I'm one of those ones that dropped off hard. Like, I didn't even finish the campaign, So, and at some point, I still have it installed and stuff. I do want to go back and finish it at some point. I don't know. I wasn't as sucked into the campaign as I thought I would be. Hence why I've not played it. And then, like always, another game comes around the corner, which I've maybe been looking forward to more. So, and I'll give it a go, perhaps, if and when this Battle Royale mode is a thing and does release. I don't know. I find it hard to see. I can see there being a lot of teething issues, given the current stance of the game. I don't want to knock on the game or anything. I know there's a lot of people that enjoy it, but equally, a lot of people are not content at all of what's going on, and the thing was a lack of updates. It's not quick enough, etc., etc. And I think in the Battle Royale space, I think especially with the popularity of games like Fortnite and Apex Legends and stuff, I think they've kind of proven that if you don't have an influx of content coming almost all the time, which is a good and bad thing, I guess, but popularity does wane and drop. So I think there always seems to be this push that you have to be able to offer something new regularly, and whether or not they can do that, I think may be a deciding factor as to whether people would stick with it or not.
Well, what does the last Spartan stand-in look like in Halo? Have we got details of that? I mean, is this just the last person standing out of 6 or out of 50? Do we know?
Yeah, so it's probably worth mentioning. I wouldn't personally describe it as a battle royale mode. It's more just like a free-for-all elimination style mode. So if you've played free-for-all in Halo, imagine that with, I guess maybe one life or. They've not really released too many leaks. Oh, sorry, not they haven't. It's not that they haven't released these. They've not released too much information, other than maybe one or two leaks that have come about last week, where there was a bit of information that went alongside the game mode that was leaked via the APIs. That mentioned something along the lines of upgrading your loadout as you progress, which kind of give gun game vibes, where maybe you start off with a pistol, maybe it upgrades to the next weapon, and the next weapon, maybe you have to get the last kill with a sword. Obviously, if anyone's played, gun games on the likes of Counter-Strike and things like that, it kind of give those sorts of vibes. But they've not kind of released too much information. They said they're going to ramp it up this month, obviously in the lead up to launch on May 2nd or 3rd, one of the two. So we should hopefully get a bit more, but I probably wouldn't describe it as a battle royale.
Do we know? Is it being played on the BTB maps?
We don't know that actually yet, Flap. I imagine it'll be on the arena maps, because it's free for all game modes are generally 8 players or 6 players, 6 to 8 players. I'm not too sure. So generally those will be played on the arena.
I mean, I was thinking.
I'm just speculating there. To be fair, they could have them on BTB maps with a much bigger player base.
I mean, if it was sort of 50 players on a BTB, it kind of is a battle royale at that kind of point, isn't it? Not obviously like Fortnite or anything like that, but it would be interesting, because there were rumours beforehand, wasn't there, about a battle royale? And like you say, perhaps people have misconstrued what Last Spartan Standing is to a certain degree, but I know there was talk about battle royale for Halo even before it launched, wasn't there? So perhaps this is it, I guess, on some level. But
I think that will come eventually, and I agree with Luke when he said he needs something kind of big to kind of draw like a big new crowd back in, and I think like a fully blown BR mode would do that. I think the one thing that we know of that will possibly have that effect is Forge, when that comes during season 3, because Forge, there's an unbelievably creative community who create some amazing game mods that can be a lot of fun. I imagine that would be popular on things like Twitch, and that might draw players back in. So if they get Forge mode and they get it right, and then they have the features alongside that to allow it to succeed, like custom game browsers and things like that, I think that could be the next big thing that kind of helps peak the player base again. But we'll have to wait and see, because that's at least 3 months away if they stick to their original cadence. But they already delayed co-op from season 2, so is Forge going to be there at season 3? We just don't know, unfortunately.
It's a shame, isn't it? I wanted Halo to be. I wanted it to be more. I know that sounds a bit silly, but I just wanted the, I guess, the rollout of sort of future content to be much more prevalent than it currently is, I guess, just to keep the sort of the memento of Halo going, because it seems to have died off slightly, or quite a lot actually on some levels. And it's just, it's going to be a difficult ship to turn around, isn't it? And to get people back on the Halo bus again, I guess, on some degree. Like you say, there's always going to be that hardcore element that will love it anyway, regardless. But yeah, it's that sort of middle ground of players. Perhaps like me and Pucks probably were the good candidates of, had it felt more fresh, we'd probably stick with it a bit more. I don't know. It's an interesting one.
So I was going to throw the question back to you, Flap, actually. Like, is there anything about the game that you would need to be drawn back into it, do you reckon?
Yeah, I think the Battle Pass put me off a bit. Just how...
You paid for it, didn't you, the first time around? Right?
I did.
Did you complete it, Flap?
No, nowhere near. Well, because the progression was so slow. It's like, for God's sake.
That's fine.
And to be honest, myself, like lots of other gamers, have got other well-established games to compare it to. Had I never bought a season pass before in my life, I would have thought, oh, this is how it works. But having done Call of Duty season passes for the last few years, I know how fast you can kind of rank up on those double XP points. You earn your sort of in-game currency back to be able to buy next year, next season's. It was just different, and they didn't follow the trend, and I think they were trying to create their own trend or perhaps reinvent it, and it kind of didn't work compared to what's already out there, I suppose. So it sounds like they've kind of backtracked a little bit and kind of fallen into line with the current sort of formula for battle passes and stuff, which would hopefully help them. Will it be enough to suck me back in? Probably not. But I tell you what, if there was another 5 maps or something like that, I'd probably be very intrigued. But another couple of maps, I don't know if that's going to be enough to suck me back in, to be honest. And co-op, I mean, I know that's not coming yet, but campaign co-op that was never really a problem for me. So even when that does land, that's not going to be enough. So
I am looking forward to co-op. Co-op's kind of one of the things I'm really looking forward to, actually, because I do want to complete the campaign again in Legendary, and that's not something I'm willing to put myself through without somebody to hold my hand a little bit. So, yes, I am really looking forward to co-op whenever that comes. I'll be doing another campaign run for that. But I think, everything you've said there, Flap, is fair, and that's the challenge that they've got. They've tried to kind of take a different approach to BRs rather not BRs, sorry, battle passes and the challenge system, and not really looked at the tried and tested methods that Fortnite, COD, and Apex have, and that's really bitten them on the arse. And unfortunately, now they've got kind of a really long road back to kind of where they were at launch. Unfortunately for them, people like me and maybe Luke, they don't really have to do much for us, I don't think, because we enjoy the core gameplay that much that we'll probably always jump into it at some point. And I know I mentioned earlier that I sort of refer to myself as lapsed. I'll still play it once or twice a week, but I was playing it 3 or 4 hours a night when it launched. So it has, changed quite a lot since then. They don't have to do much to bring me back in. One map is enough for me personally, but for a larger audience, it's unfortunately not enough, and they need to kind of get to a point where they're releasing maps, mods very regularly.
Well, Mr. BMG's just put Halo let me down, took my money and gave me poop.
Yeah, but we might go on to it later, but he buys GTA 5 full time, so I don't think he can say anything, can he?
Yeah, no, fair point.
I've got a quick Halo question for Luke and Scott, actually, just around the Battle Pass. So if you guys know, they say that no Battle Pass ever expires, and you can always go back to one later on. So the idea that you can, like any other Battle Pass, you get credits to buy the next one. So let's take me for example, if I was to not jump into the game until say mid-late next year, when there's maybe been 4 or 5 seasons by that point, can I then pick which one I want to do, work through it to get all those credits, and then by the end of it, I've got like potentially thousands of credits if I've completed all those battle passes? Or is it just you have to complete all of one before you can go to another one, etc., etc.? Do you have any idea how it works, perhaps? I know it's probably not public knowledge, but...
I'm not too sure whether they've obviously, because we're still in season 1, we'll probably learn a bit more when we hit season 2. The best thing we've got to go on is the Master Chief Collection has something similar, Pucks, where essentially you can activate a battle pass at a time. So you say, right, I don't want to do season 2, I want to do season 1's battle pass. You activate that, and then the challenges or whatever you do contribute towards that battle pass, and you can effectively switch between them at any one time. I don't think you would have to complete all of one before you can move on to 2. I think you could essentially just move between them as you want. Okay. The only thing is the 1,000 credits is only coming as part of season 2's, and obviously you would have to buy the premium battle pass for 1,000 credits first. Yeah, sure. So in theory, you could buy 1,000 credits for season 2, complete season 2, then go and do season 1 with that 1,000 credits you got from season 2, but then you wouldn't earn any credits from the season 1 battle pass because they don't exist. I think that's how it's going to work, but they've not specified too much. So like I say, we'll probably learn more when the second pass is out there and we can see how it looks in the UI.
No, okay, fair enough.
Yeah, no, fair point. Yeah, no, that's kind of cool, and I think everyone's been kind of waiting for what season 2 in Halo is going to look like, and kind of here we are. We've still got a few questions that need answering, but yeah, I think we've got a much better picture. And like I say, good news for the hardcore, and possibly slightly disappointing for the ones that have dropped off, if I'm completely honest. But let's move on to Max Payne, and I know this is one probably for Luke. But yeah, Remedy have been tasked with remaking Max Payne. I think it's 1 and 2, and I think they're rolling them into one game, I believe. Is that correct, Luke?
Yes, that's right. Yeah, this was really surprising to me, like just completely out of left field. Did not expect it. Incredibly excited, actually. So I'm a big Max Payne fan. I loved all 3, actually. I mean, the 3rd game was made by Rockstar. I think it was written by Sam Houser as well. So it's a little different in tone, I guess, to 1 and 2, which were purely written by Sam Lake at Remedy. But it's a really cool series, and I really didn't think we'd get another because, Rockstar just owned that IP. They're not really interested in doing anything with it, or seemingly they weren't. because why would they when they've got GTA that they can sell 50,000 times, and a new one, and then Red Dead on the back burner. So
he's talking about you, BMG.
Yeah, yes, BMG, that's directly at you. So you are responsible for our lack of Max Payne games. So I was massively surprised, but really excited. They're remaking him, as you say, as a package. They're being remade in Northlight, which is Remedy's own engine. I think they said they'll have the budget of a typical Remedy AAA game.
Okay.
So this will not be just this will essentially be a proper ground up remake. I can't wait to see what they will make those games look like for next gen hardware. It's going to be super impressive. And Remedy are Remedy are one of my favorite studios at the moment, because they're now remaking Max Payne 1 and 2. They've got Alan Wake 2 in development, which I'm super excited for. I think they've said that they're planning on working on a Control sequel as well, which is such a fantastic game. So, that just everything that they do at the moment for me.
I'm pleased you said that, because I really like Remedy as well. They're a great studio. Did you? I'm guessing not, but because they've obviously just kind of come off the back of Crossfire X. Did you give that a chance at all?
No, I did not.
I didn't.
Don't, Luke. Don't.
Obviously,
if you're excited for future Remedy games, do not play Crossfire.
Yes, no, I don't want them to be tainted by Crossfire X, because that's not true Remedy. Like that isn't. I'm sure it's okay. It's fine. Maybe less than fine, but it's clearly not something that was a big project for them. So I don't want to taint them.
No, I think it seems like it's a functional game, like you say. And to be honest, I don't think they're used to that sort of fast-paced, gunplay. Like you say, Remedy's a bit more cerebral, isn't it? You can kind of sit back a little bit and work out what you're going to do next. Whereas those sort of, first-person military shooters are they're not like that, are they? They're kind of in-your-face shooters normally. But,
No, I'm very excited for it. For both of them. I think
well,
awesome.
I saw a poll. I can't remember if it was Spawn Wave or Jay Wood, people like that on YouTube put a poll out saying, "Have you ever played a Max Payne game?" And the answer was no, by quite a large margin. And I've got to be honest, I stick my hand up. I've not played a Max Payne game. Pucks, Scott, have you played Max Payne?
No, my hand's up as well. Never played one.
Yeah, I'm with you too. I've not played either of them. So
what am I doing here?
But the thing is, Luke,
not even free.
No,
not even the third one.
None, mate.
I don't know why.
My apologies. I've never seen Luke look so disgusted in his life, to be honest. I think we've really offended him, gents.
I'm just quite shocked. No, the first two were back in. Well, the first one was early 2000s, and then the second a couple of years later, and I think the third came out 2010 something. It might have been, it was a good while after the first two. I'm just surprised, but then again, maybe not, because it's never been like a huge franchise per se. It's not big mainstream. They did make that terrible film. I remember going to the cinemas to see that.
I've seen the film.
Yeah,
I've seen the film. Look, I've not played the games, but I've seen the film.
So
who is it in the film?
Don't take the foot. It's Mark Wahlberg.
Mark Wahlberg, that's right. Yeah,
and I think Mila Kunis is in it as well. Don't see the film. That will taint your view of Max Payne, because the film is terrible. I remember that's how much I like Max Payne. I actually paid to go to the cinema to see Max Payne in the cinema, and it was
so describe it as a game. What sort of genre is it? What kind of game is it then?
If you think of Control, and the combat there, but you put bullet time in it.
Oh wow! Okay.
And you don't have any of the supernatural powers, and it's not kind of rogue like a Metroidvania, which Control is. It's more of a linear, I guess, action adventure to some extent, kind of shoot 'em up with bullet time. It inspired a lot of games around that time. So if you think of what were the games, I think there's Stranglehold or something like that came out around the time. Dead to Rights, if anybody remembers that. A load of games around that time were basically doing Max Payne style mechanics, bullet time, linear action adventure story. So it inspired a bit of a subgenre of its own.
What era was it? Was it the 360 era?
So the original Max Payne was early Xbox era, although it was on PC. I can't remember if it came to console. I didn't play it on console. And then
I
the
remember
second
it being
one,
an original Xbox game. If I remember,
there you go then.
Right.
That might be why
I think
I
that's
missed
right.
it.
I think it was on PS2
Yes,
as well, though. So
Wow.
it was that generation.
It's been around a
so
while.
I
Then.
do remember it because I remember the bullet time thing being pretty big. Because I think it was fairly novel at the time, or like a fairly unique mechanic. So I do remember that aspect, despite not.
I'm guessing it jumped on the back of the Matrix and things like that. Then.
Yes, it was. I think one of the first games to be clearly inspired by that. It also had really impressive physics for the time as well, which I'm sure they will bring back. So, I mean, again, you see this in Control; it has super impressive physics. Yeah. But of course, in bullet time, it's even more impressive. And you could dive through doors and dive through tables, break tables with your bullets, like all of this stuff. Just imagine the Matrix, but again.
Novel in those days, I should think.
Yeah. Max Payne 1 had a GBA port, apparently.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, I don't know what it looked like, but it did.
I can't imagine very good, mate. But
probably not very good. No. So yeah, I definitely wouldn't. I wouldn't think, I need to go and play Max Payne now. I'm going to go and play the originals. Don't go and play the originals because they will play very poorly now.
Yeah.
The third will probably play quite well still. But I'm very excited.
Well, that's interesting because they're obviously remaking it exactly for for myself, Pucks, and Scott. For the people that kind of missed it first time around. And like you say, perhaps they didn't push it that hard. I don't remember because I had a PS2. I don't remember thinking that was a must-have game at the time. So
yeah, I think Remedy were quite small at the time as well. So it's very much it fell into the Alan Wake bucket really of a cult classic rather than something that had big mainstream.
So is it originally a Remedy title then?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't realise that. Oh, so it's kind of going back to them. Rockstar have kind of got together with them, just kind of literally remake the original that they created, I guess. Yeah. Oh, wow, I didn't realise that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's really cool. Funnily enough, Max Payne himself actually, the design, his entire look and his face is based on Sam Lake, the writer, the head writer at Remedy. Except for the third game when they turned him into like, I don't know, looks a bit like a nicer Trevor from GTA 5.
Nicer Trevor.
Really selling the look.
Yeah, so it's cool. It's cool.
How did it end up in Rockstar's hands, Luke? Out of interest?
I can't remember. I can't remember at all because it's quite interesting that it obviously belongs to Rockstar. I don't know if I don't think Rockstar published 1 and 2. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
It doesn't look like it. Yeah, I'm just having a quick look here. So it looks like it was 1 was published by Gathering of Developers, which I've honestly never heard of. Obviously 3 was developed by Rockstar, as you said. 2 was published by Rockstar. So maybe as part of that publishing agreement, they acquired the rights,
it's possible.
Which then led to the movie, possibly. Yeah, that would probably make sense.
Wow.
Yeah, and then to 3. So yeah, very strange. So, but I think fair play to Rockstar actually, because they could have just sat on it and gone, not interested. But they've actually seemed to be quite collaborative with Remedy.
That seems unlike Rockstar.
I know, very, very un-Rockstar-like. But clearly, Remedy must have had a good pitch for it, and Rockstar want to diversify a little bit. And I think it's probably good business sense for Rockstar. I don't think they really have to do much. I think obviously they'll probably be putting money towards development, but I think Remedy said as soon as all the development costs are recouped, then Rockstar get a percentage of profit from everything else after that. So it's it works out well for them. So
it's quite strange. I think. No, go on, sorry.
No, I was going to say in Remedy as well. I think it makes sense for what Remedy are trying to do at the minute, actually, to get Max Payne back again, because, or at least try and establish a relationship where they can maybe make a new Max Payne. Because for those who don't know, Remedy are trying to do their own basically game universe at the moment. So Control and Alan Wake are actually purportedly in the same universe. So, and they hinted at that in the Control DLC. Well, I say hinted; they just told you basically. So going forward, I think they're trying to kind of amalgamate some of their titles into other titles and kind of interconnect them, much like the MCU. So I think this might be a play to try and get Max Payne somewhere in there as well.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that would be a thing.
Did you
wouldn't
find
it?
Did you find the language of the announcement in any way interesting, Luke? Because it does sound like the ink was barely dry by the time they put out this press release. So obviously, it probably hasn't even started development. I think they even said the contract we've signed today, or words to that effect, which I thought was interesting. So this is a long way off, and I know this is maybe slightly off topic, and maybe we could say this for another show, but it's maybe another example of game announcements being a little different these days. I know this is very press focused, but they've announced this game not for us. So it wasn't for us as fans. I don't think obviously we get the benefit for it, but it was more for investors, more for the media, and maybe more for recruitment, which is seemingly a little bit of a trend in the gaming industry these days.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think it speaks to that. Clearly, Remedy. I mean, look at all the projects they've got in development. They're going to need a lot more staff. For all of that, and they are hiring pretty significantly. And also, I think it speaks to just how excited Remedy probably are for it. Sam Lake especially he created this franchise. I'm sure he's absolutely over the moon, just like he was to make, to be able to make Alan Wake 2, to make more of these. So even though it's the remake, so but it's a while off. Having said that, if you look at stuff like the Dead Space remake, if you get enough resources behind these things, the development time seems to be a bit less than starting a game up from scratch, because you've got everything, at least in terms of narrative and game design, already up and running. So it might be a bit harder for the original Max Payne and Max Payne 2, because these are much older games than Dead Space. So I think there will be more thought that has to go into them about how they how they branch out with it. But it's super cool.
You get me excited now. I want it to happen. It's a little way off yet, isn't it?
Yeah, I'd say at least probably two and a half, 3 years. Yeah, but you never know. They might. Their engine's apparently really, really good and really easy to work with, so they might be able to get it up and running a lot quicker than people think. But it doesn't matter, because next year we're supposed to have Alan Wake 2. So
that's true. Yeah, that's true. We do have a bridge.
Even if we get that the next year.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point, I guess. So. Pucks, we've got quite a lot of comments flying in. Where are we with the comments on this one?
Yeah, got a few things to read out here. Regarding this topic, or shall I just go for the whole lot?
Let's go for the whole lot, shall we?
Yeah, why not? So I've got one here right at the very top, Sora Next, who says, "Yep, I'm hyped about Max Payne as much as Luke is, by the sounds of it."
Yeah, well, we've run the poll. We've run the poll, and it's very close. It's 56 have played it, and 44 haven't played it. Only out of 10 votes. It's changed as we. But so yeah, it's fairly close. More people have played it than not.
Matesco here saying, "Hope everyone's got their morning coffee." I did have my morning tea next to me, but I've just finished mine, so that was good. Smitty Smith says, "I'll be jumping back into Halo." Matesco again saying, Max Payne was one of the first large production Finnish games, so yes, played it back in the day. Soren X, who says, "I hope they keep address unknown in the remakes."
That means nothing to me, but does that mean so to you then, Luke?
That's probably one for Luke, I guess.
Yeah, well, address is with a capital A, so yeah, that's
sounds like a name of someone or
noun,
something.
Yeah,
I'm assuming.
yeah.
Matesco again says, "On the PC, it was brutally heavy game to play." I'm sure you're demanding. Is the way I'm reading that. One here from Stubbs Gaming, who says, "Rockstar cash grab. They ain't even making it. They are too busy making shark cards."
Well, what I will say on that, though, I will say the fact that it's Remedy remaking these games and not Rockstar actually has me more excited. If this was Rockstar announcing this and they were developing it, I would be, I obviously have not played the game. The thing that excites me about these remakes is the fact that coming off the back of playing Control just last year. It's Remedy making the game. If this was Rockstar off the back of GTA 5 and RDR2, I wouldn't have anywhere near the level of excitement.
You know, right? This is what I was laughing at when Luke was talking. It's like the best game, right, that Rockstar have ever made. The best game they've ever made was that table tennis one, and they made it so well that it doesn't need a sequel. It doesn't need a sequel. They made it so well.
Need to remake that.
Yeah.
Bring that back out. I'd buy that.
What's the point? 100%. It's so good. It probably holds up now.
Make it in the new Rage engine.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
I mean, chat, you tell us. Yeah, did you guys play Rockstar's table tennis back in 2006 on the 360? Let us know.
I'll tell you what, it was about 15 quid, wasn't it? It was dirt cheap. Yeah. And it was one of those sort of...
really good.
It was really good.
Wasn't it just a tech demo?
Yeah.
It was just a demo for their engine, wasn't it? They just wanted to get a game out using the engine, and they just picked table tennis for it.
What did that lead to? What was the next thing they released? Would that have been Red Dead?
I'm honestly not too sure. If I can
GTA
find
4?
out.
Might have been GTA 4. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I think you're right. Red Dead came out after that. Yeah, I think you're right.
A few more comments here if you want to crack on. But Soren X, who says Max Paynes are a game changer. They were and still are ahead of their time.
I'm getting hyped for this. Yeah. Okay.
Another one from Soren X again, who says the controls on the back compat versions are still great. And I think I saw in the chat earlier, I can't remember who said it, but apparently Max Payne 3 also benefits from FPS boost on series consoles as well.
That's cool. That's really cool.
Well, there's a massive spring sale on at the moment with over 500 titles with up to, I think it's 85 to 95% discount, which is pretty amazing. And there's also been some, I was going to say rumours, there's also been some rumbles that people have been receiving £4 or $5 gift card vouchers just at random. So keep an eye on your inbox on Xbox just to see if you've got some money in there ready and waiting for you. But yeah, now's the time. So I don't know if the Max Paynes are in as part of that spring sale, but now would be a good time to jump in if so. But potentially, like Luke says, perhaps they haven't aged so well. But
Yeah, I'm just having a look here at the game. So after Table Tennis was released in 2006, the next game of that generation that they released was Grand Theft Auto 4. There was the Bully Scholarship Edition, but I assume that was just a re-release of Bully.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was GTA 4.
I liked GTA 4. I preferred it to 5, if I'm honest. I don't know why GTA 4 doesn't get any love whatsoever. It's the one that's always forgotten.
Garbage.
You don't like it? Oh, I thought it was brilliant. I really liked it.
Yeah, I think it's the worst GTA.
Wow, really?
Wow.
In what way? What story way or mechanics?
Story way.
Wow.
The big thing they did in GTA 4, which they deliberately did, but I just felt it was crap, was that every GTA before that and after to some extent, it's been about. I remember specifically they quoted this. It's been about rags to riches. Right, so you go from lowly idiot to someone really successful. That's the kind of point of the game. And they said for GTA 4, their aim was not to do that. It was specifically to go from rags to slightly better rags.
Yeah.
So the story proceeds on you never really feel like you're making big advancements in the world because Nico is just a loser who doesn't really do much. And I just hated it.
That's interesting. Fair point.
The color palette in the game was quite grey as well.
Quite grey, quite dour. Coming off stuff like Vice City and stuff, it was really dull.
Yeah.
I
quite like that though. It's quite gritty. Gritty, I think is the word.
It is gritty. So if you're into that, then it's probably a good one.
I think it helped set the mood, and it kind of carries the mood through. Like you say, it's not rags to riches. It is. Yeah, I've never really thought of it like that before. Interesting.
I think I agree with that, but yeah, it's very much the game which everyone forgets, don't they? Although, again, if you do play GTA 5, there is actually a small Easter egg where I think on one of the ending missions, you can actually have Nico Bellic as one of your helpers in one of the major heists. Yeah, you can call on him.
Keep going. We're not done with the chat yet, are we?
No, sorry, I've got a few more here. I did just see a comment from. There's another one I will read out in a minute. I just saw another one here from Darren as well in the chat who says, I thought the Max Payne film was good. Problem is people expect too much from game to film adaptations. taking Uncharted, for instance. Now, I've not seen Uncharted, but I know when I first saw the trailers, I've mostly good but mixed things is what I've heard about it. But I think the main, and I haven't seen it, so I can't comment too much. But the one gripe I had, I think, because Tom Holland is so heavily established as Spider-Man, I just found it like it almost feels like it was too soon for him to start playing another character. It's like,
it's not great
that's
casting.
not who you are.
Yeah. Also, Mark Wahlberg. I mean, as Sully is just the juiciest casting I've ever seen in my life.
Thank you. I'm pleased you've said that, because when I heard that, it's like Sully. He's Sully. What?
Sully, yeah. It just does. Yeah. I've not seen it fully yet. I will see it.
They wrote the film, didn't they, to basically be a prequel to the first game. It was meant to be how Nathan Drake became Nathan Drake, which is why they all look quite young. But even so, I feel like they're just explaining away why they've picked who they've picked and describing the way they look, rather than this was actually a like a cinematic choice. It was just we just got a big name. He looks like a 12-year-old. So
it's then super jarring as well, because they did that, but then they've actually brought in set pieces that were in the later Uncharted games.
Yes, like Uncharted 3, wasn't it? The plane and that.
Yeah. So like as a fan of the games, you kind of like, well, yeah, but that doesn't happen here. And I know, like, you kind of got to divorce yourself, like much like the Halo show at the moment.
Yeah,
you have to kind of try and divorce yourself from what you've seen in the games to try and enjoy it more, which is absolutely fine. But a lot of decisions, and I mean, clearly it's been really successful, Uncharted. So good for them, and they're going to do another, I'm sure. But very jarring. The Tom Holland thing, I totally agree with. It's way too jarring for him to be in another big blockbuster film as a character who is supposed to be fundamentally so different to Peter Parker / Spider-Man. But Tom Holland kind of plays it very similar, like except for the nerdiness. So it's kind of like, okay, really hard to suspend my disbelief here, but okay.
Yeah. Didn't Tom Holland refer to it as like being a mistake doing that movie in the run up? I believe that, because I may be misremembering.
I feel like I've heard a similar thing, like in an article or something just before the film came out, how he may second guess this decision. Now that you've said that, I feel like I've seen that as well.
I think there was something like that, which I would find interesting. Obviously, depending on what direction they go for another movie, which, as Luke says, they undoubtedly will, because I think it is the most successful video game movie of all time now. I believe after it was released, like it overtook Sonic and Warcraft and things like that. So if they do another one, will he be cast again? After his comments are, will has the success changed his mind, or will they maybe go a different route?
Just get Mark Wahlberg out.
That was a peculiar one. That was peculiar.
I think that's just to say Mark Wahlberg's in this movie. I think it's purely so they can say there's a couple of big names in there to help sell it.
I don't even get why Mark Wahlberg is a selling point, though.
Yeah,
Mark
exactly.
Wahlberg. How is Mark Wahlberg a selling point?
Exactly.
Got a comment here from Darren. Who's just so gone. Go on, Luke. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh, no, it's fine.
I've just saw a comment here from Darren, who just says, why are people against Tom Holland playing a young Nathan Drake? It's a prequel, not an up-to-date version of Uncharted. I'm going into watching it with an open mind. And I think we just kind of covered that, really, in that it's not like I have a problem with Tom Holland. It's more because he's so heavily established with Spider-Man. It's not like it's not like he played Spider-Man 5 years ago and he's now moving on to other projects. It's like he literally just finished the new Spider-Man. Yeah. So in everyone's eyes, he is Spider-Man. Or the current one.
But it makes me wonder if they actually did that on purpose to drag in people that are fans of Tom Holland, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I think that's fair, Flap.
Yeah, Soren X here says Tom Holland still looks too childish, personally. And I don't know, maybe for that role, even as a prequel, like he still looks like a teenager. Whereas I feel like, because when you play the first game, like Nathan Drake's like what, early 30s or something like that, or like late 20s or whatever. I can't really tell. I'm just going by.
I'd have said early 30s.
It's weird. It's hard to explain when someone throws the question like, "Why are you against it?" It's like, well, outside of the Spider-Man thing, it's just something about the way he looks doesn't fit. Outside of the game, trying to remove myself from that, there's still something that doesn't feel. He doesn't fit the character for me personally.
Yeah, I think it's. I don't know. I've not played the Uncharted games, so I don't have that sort of connection with the character. So to me, it doesn't. other than he's Spider-Man, I don't really have any issue because I don't know the character or how he looks, or well, obviously I know how he looks from like artwork and stuff, but yeah, it's interesting, and I know Luke was touching on it as well. It's a similar thing that I've got with Halo at the moment. When you've got that connection with the franchise, it's very difficult to disconnect from it. And that can make these adaptations, whether they be movies or TV shows or anything, quite difficult for established fans of the franchise because the decisions that they've made to adapt it are often quite jarring, whether that be casting or writing or whatever it may be. You know, they're kind of they're not for us. They're for the wider audience who maybe aren't familiar with the characters or the franchise. I find.
Did
I
you say
think
you haven't played Uncharted?
Yeah, I've not played the Uncharted games, Flap.
Wow.
Wow, you're missing out.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's
God,
surprising.
I think Luke's going to say something, right?
No, I think Pucks, you were right in that. You know, I think if Tom Holland was playing Nathan Drake for like 4 or 5 years after he'd already played Spider-Man, you probably could divorce it from your mind. But because he's gone straight into it, you know, it's very fresh in the memory. You know, No Way Home just released, essentially next to Uncharted or very close. You know, put Robert Pattinson straight after Twilight into the Batman, like you'd be like,
Yeah.
you know, like that wouldn't work.
Yeah.
But because there's so much time and he's aged and he's changed, and you know, he's fantastic. And I don't look at him and think, oh, it's Edward Cullen, you know. So,
but people were still skeptical of the casting because of his past, myself included. I will admit. So yeah, even disconnected from Twilight, as long as it has been, people were still skeptical of that casting choice because of, you know, his, I guess, big break, so to speak.
I think Daniel Craig's fallen into that as well. When you see him in other films, it's like it's just James Bond. It's kind of synonymous at the moment with that particular character, isn't it? It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I suppose speaking of early examples as well, like Daniel Radcliffe as Harry Potter, for example, it's you know, like I think it was from time before.
I saw him in Woman in Black. He's in the film Woman in Black, isn't he? And that was quite jarring to see him in that. It's bizarre. Yeah,
I think that's one of his first films he played after the Harry Potter stuff finished as well. I saw that in the cinema, and it was you definitely had that association at first. But it was like, oh, but Harry Potter's done, so yeah, this is cool, I guess.
Yeah, I understand the process, but you just associate them with that character. It's just how it is. But yeah. Okay, Doug. Well, we've got one from. We've got a question really from, because we were going to do some community questions. I know BMG put some stuff in the Discord channel, and if you're not part of our Discord channel, please join. The link should be in the description below. But he's put, apart from Starfield coming out in November this year, what else has Xbox coming out this year that will be a big hitter? I'm guessing Redfall is the answer. Is it the only answer?
Maybe. Is Redfall question mark is probably
and wasn't it planned for summer?
Yeah, they originally announced it summer this year.
And he's put, will that be a big hitter?
Yeah, well, it's an arcane game, so it won't be a big hitter in the sense of it'll do big numbers. Might be critically very well received.
I'm not too sure, great, to be honest. I think critically, because it's a very different arcade game with the whole co-op angle they've gone for, kind of, I don't know. I'm not too sure whether it'll have the same critical reception as some of the previous games.
Yeah, I guess it depends on if how much they can meld immersive sim stuff into that game in a co-op angle, which I think will be very difficult. I think that will boil down to essentially approachability of how you missions, like how you approach them. I'm sure they'll have a lot of that stuff, but they're not going to be able to do like the stuff you can do in Dishonored, where you can like things in a very specific way because there's too many variables from other people. So they'll have to kind of pare that back. So I guess that's where they might do that super well. Like it's the same team that in Arcane that did Prey, isn't it?
Yes.
So I think and they're really talented. So I'm sure if anyone can do it, it's them. But I am quite skeptical. That was the thing when it was announced. I was like, oh, vampires, arcane, big kind of open worldish, really excited. And then they were like, and it's co-op. And I was like,
Yeah.
okay. That kind of dampened it. I need to see it. I need to see what it looks like.
I guess I mean the question was targeted around Xbox specifically, so I'm guessing Deathloop. Can we count Deathloop in that? Do you think?
I personally wouldn't.
Do people care about that at this stage?
Is that because you don't think it's a big hitter, or because it's already come out on PlayStation?
A bit of both.
Right.
Yeah, a bit of both.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's already out, so I think obviously it's going to come to Game Pass, which will do something for it. But I think despite its critical reception, I didn't get the feeling it was commercially well received, and I think that's exactly why Bethesda originally signed a deal with PlayStation anyway, because these things are bloody risky for them and don't often lead to a lot of commercial success. So I'm excited to play it, but yeah, I wouldn't necessarily call it. I guess it's the definition of big hitter, isn't it? Starfield's a big hitter.
I mean, Luke's actually played it. I believe you haven't completed it. Is it worth getting excited about? I guess is a question.
Well, I
Oh, you're botting on us slightly.
So I've only played. Oh, that was weird. I've only played maybe 4 hours.
Okay.
So, it's something I probably will go back to, but I must admit it did not grab me that well in those 3 and 4 hours. But I've heard this anyway. Apparently, it takes a long time to get going, in terms of opening up the game and really letting you loose. So I think it's one of the inherent flaws of the game, but also you only get the juicy stuff when you've gone past that. So I don't know. I mean, it's a cool game. Setting's really cool. But yeah, I don't think the thing is, I think people it's one of those games, much like many arcane games, where some people are really going to love it and they'll get it straight away. Other people are just going to bounce straight off it. So I'd say if you don't like Dishonored or you don't like Prey, you're probably going to bounce off this pretty hard.
Because I didn't really gel with Dishonored, although I quite liked Prey, I've got to be honest. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one for me. I quite like the premise, but yeah, like you say, if there's that big speed hump you've got to get over before, like you say, before you get into the juicy stuff and it really turns that corner. It's a real fine line for games, isn't it, to do that, to turn that corner. I guess Elden Ring wasn't so bad. I thought it was going to turn a corner for me much later than it actually did. And I'm quite pleased for that, and that's probably why I stuck with it till the end because of that. But some games drag that sort of, there's sort of that breadcrumb trail that you follow and follow and follow and follow, thinking there's going to be something good at the end of this, and it takes ages to get there. So, I struggle with getting over that speed hump with new games, particularly new concept type games as well. So it's a fine balance for them to get that right and perhaps, like you say, hook people in. But I mean, it was nominated for plenty of awards in the Game Awards last year, so it's obviously liked on some level. But anything else?
Yeah,
what else is coming?
Well, we've got what we got. We got Starfield. Redfall was rumored for summer, but then not rumored, announced for summer, but then rumored to be delayed. So I'm hoping we'll hear more about that soon. Do you think Forza Motorsport hits this year?
It was rumored to, wasn't it?
Maybe, yeah.
I guess you could consider that a big hitter.
Is it though?
Well, I think it is.
I'd say it's a big. I'd say it was a big hitter. Yeah.
Turn 10 do a fantastic job, and they're normally at the forefront of showcasing the new hardware. So for them to have waited a couple of years seems odd to me. But obviously the game just wasn't ready. But they're a big studio.
Yeah, but other than that, I mean, Stubbs kind of said it. To be honest, in some ways, he said nothing is the answer, and I think he's probably not wrong, because I think Redfall isn't going to be a big hitter. I certainly wouldn't have it anywhere near the level of Starfield. Forza Motorsport's not even. They haven't even put a date on it. That's completely a rumor, and all the other things are maybe just smaller projects. I think Project Belfry, that was leaked by Jeff Grubb and Jez Corden. I think that was rumored to be coming this year. Was it Belfry or the other one? I think it might have been one of the. It might be a different one actually. There's a couple of maybe those smaller titles that may drop later this year as well, but certainly nothing I would categorize as a big hitter. You know, something like a Hellblade or Fable or Perfect Dark. You know, things like that. I think we're going to have to be a little bit more patient for those big hitters.
It feels
So
like this. Yeah, go on.
I've just seen a comment here from Darren as well, who just said Microsoft needs to get a grip on their studios. Sorry, but where is Fable? Where is all the new games they promised? Where is Coalition's new game? Supposedly been working on it for 2 to 3 years now.
Well, I was about to say that. I mean, there's lots of question marks over Xbox at the moment with regards to sort of their launch schedule because, like you say, you know, they've teased so much so early, and we've heard nothing. There's been a bit of an Xbox news drought for a while. I can't remember the last significant thing before the Activision announcement. So I'm hoping there's going to be a mega blowout this summer, and that they're kind of saving it all up, I guess. But
it's going hand in hand with Soren X's comment as well. Who said, "Yeah, there's probably a number of unannounced games probably dropping after a summer games announcement," which I think we can all anticipate is true. But
I'm not too sure, to be perfectly honest.
we've asked this question.
We discussed it on the show in the past, and we've said they had a massive blowout a number of years ago, essentially out of necessity because there was so many question marks over their first party portfolio. That's when they announced Perfect Dark, Fable, Everwild, and that's why they're getting criticized now for announcing games too early. Which is, we kind of have a really good roadmap of what their studios are working on. We just don't know when they're coming. If you think of a first party studio, there isn't an awful lot we don't know outside of maybe something like what was the We Happy Few developer? Compulsion. Maybe you know what their game is. But if you think about all the other ones, Avowed, Fable, Perfect Dark, Motorsport, we know Gear 6 is coming. Obviously Starfield, we know Elder Scrolls 6 is coming in 2 decades or whenever it might be. We know a lot of what they're going to be working on. It's unfortunately just time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I totally agree. I mean, there's other stuff we don't like in Exile's next game. We don't know what that is. I mean, we know kind of what it might be, first person RPG, you know, that sort of stuff. But there's a lot of stuff that we just know, you know, that it's coming, but it's going to be a while, unfortunately. So what we'll say is that if they hit this year with Redfall, Starfield, and a couple of other smaller things, let's say, I don't think that's a bad year at all. You know, I think that's still a good year. You know, if you look at PS5 last year, kind of a similar situation. You had Returnal and Ratchet, and then some other stuff, you know, Deathloop, etc. That was, for me, that was a good year for PlayStation. Just because, you know, it's not, you know, God of War doesn't mean that those games weren't fantastic in their own right. And I think it's the same this year. You've got, you know, one of the bigger games coming out in Starfield. Redfall should be very good, hopefully. And you'll have other stuff, and you might have Forza, which is definitely a big hitter. So I think that's still good, but they are in a situation where, you know, even with all of these studios, we're still quite far away from a lot of these games, which is a bit disappointing. It's not Microsoft's fault with some of this, but it is probably their fault that they announced them so early, because they were just so this. You know, the one that really shocked me is Fable, because Fable's been in development for seemingly quite a long time, and I'm really surprised that they announced it. You know, when they announced it last year, I was expecting, okay, we'll get an announcement, then probably within 6 to 8 months we'll start to see a gameplay trailer, and then we'll get a release maybe towards the end of this year. It's nowhere near that, seemingly. And I'm like, I get that it's a new, the Playground have had to build a new team. You know, it's a completely new thing for them, and I completely understood. But I'm just surprised how long it's taking, which kind of ramps up the expectation for that game as well. So yeah, I mean, it's not a bad situation that Microsoft are in, because they've got so much coming. It's just where stuff going to fall, and also stuff like Contraband. You know, like not seeing any of that. You know, the big third party exclusive
Indiana
stuff they've got, like Machine Games, whatever Machine Games are working on before then. I'm sure they're working on something before them. You know, its next game, that's probably a little bit away, because they're probably doing a new id Tech engine or a revamp of it before then. So, don't know. I mean, it's going to be great when they all come, but when will that be?
I think part of the issue that they've got is just the timing of the acquisitions. If you look at every studio that they acquired, they were either getting to the end of development or in the middle of development of some sort of game. So, for example, Wasteland 3 was in development. That was multi-platform. Psychonauts 2 was in development. Horizon 5 was obviously already in development. Hellblade 2 was just starting development. So a lot of these studios that they've, and even the Bethesda acquisition, obviously Doom Eternal had just come out, I think, when they announced it, or was that even out when they announced it?
Doom Eternal or was it?
I can't remember.
Yeah, no, it was. Yeah,
it was
either
launched. Yeah,
it was either. So these studios that they've acquired are kind of basically starting the new games from scratch, effectively after the acquisition in a lot of these cases, and we know that can take 3, 4, 5, sometimes 6 years. And the only one that is kind of been in development long that I can really point to in the big hitter category, where I think they've course corrected in terms of the release platform, Starfield, because a lot of these other games they kept the multi-platform. Wasteland 3, they probably could have made that exclusive, but there was no benefit to that. And there's other games like that. Psychonauts might be more difficult because of like the FIG involvement or whatever happened there, maybe. But there was games that they were in development, they were committed to release them on the platforms. Starfield, with that one, they've said, no, this game's obviously been in development for a long time, but it's only coming to Xbox. They could have done that with other games, but they didn't. But now those studios are just getting started up, only had begun starting development on their next titles not too long ago, in the middle of a pandemic, which has probably slowed down the development overall as well. So, yeah.
I mean, Xbox, again, if we're purely talking about Xbox, I think the ace up their sleeve, though, is that they can possibly negotiate some, possibly AAA, some big games coming day and date to Game Pass as well, which still feels like a win for Xbox, if that makes sense. I know it's not necessarily a first-party studio getting launched this year, but if they can actually sort of surprise announce some big titles launching into Game Pass, that kind of helps bridge the gap as well with regards to the sort of good news stories and the narrative around Xbox as well, to some degree, that I'm guessing Sony, haven't necessarily had. They might have going forwards with Project Spartacus, I guess. But it does seem to sort of bridge the gap to some degree. I don't know what third-party games we would probably want to launch day and date in Game Pass that's coming. What else have we got to come from a third-party perspective for the rest of the year? I can't think off the top of my head.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, why are we all struggling? I suppose, this is the whole point, isn't it? This is why we need an E3 type thing, just to remind us what's still on the horizon, I guess. Because we haven't had that for a while, have we?
The other thing which has kind of struck me as well, as Luke was talking especially, was, again, going by chat as well, and people are saying, like, where's XYZ game or whatever. But, Luke was saying there that there are things coming out this year, and if you are a fan of those, then this year's going to be a great year for you. But clearly, from what I'm hearing and seeing in the chat, the games that are coming out this year don't really resonate with what the kind of things typically into or like really looking forward to. So it can always feel like an empty year and nothing's going on, when I suppose, the reality is, yes, there's things going on, but just not big things that we're looking forward to, if that makes sense. So it's a weird juggling act, I think.
But we mentioned this about Starfield. I mean, we're saying the hype is just starting to kind of trickle out, I guess, or they're trying to align people back to Starfield. And to be honest, if they ever blow out of Starfield and it looks amazing, then that will be the game everyone's focusing on. We just haven't had that yet, have we? Like you say, it's all very well releasing 5 leaked screen captures from the 2018 build. I mean, it keeps it in the headlines, but I don't think it really stokes the fires much, does it? Do you know what I mean?
No, a lot changes in 5 years. So
I'm just having a look at sort of releases for the rest of this year, and honestly, there's not an awful lot with dates. I guess August we got Saints Row. I've really struggled out there.
Yeah, why are we struggling?
October we got Gotham Knights.
Got Gotham Knights, yeah.
Obviously.
Yes,
Hogwarts is in this list I'm looking at, but that did that get a date?
Yeah, it said holiday. I think it said holiday.
Oh, okay. That's probably why it's not in this list, because there's just specific dates. Yeah. So I guess there's not an awful lot, but we are still feeling the effects of the pandemic. not Gotham Knights, but Suicide Squad was obviously delayed into 2023. Breath of the Wild 2, I know not multi-platform, but was delayed into 2023. There are probably a good chunk of games that were originally maybe not publicly announced for 2022, but internally were probably planned for 2022 that have been pushed into 2023, which has probably affected announced schedules and things like that as well. So.
Interesting. Well, sometimes indie titles can fill that gap as well. Where there aren't big things like that. This is a great time to launch an indie title, then, isn't it? And get some traction behind that as well. Particularly, like you say, if it can launch into something like a subscription service like Game Pass or potentially Spartacus. June, I believe Spartacus. Is that right? Is that coming June?
Yeah,
I think it is, isn't it? So yeah, there are things on the landscape. I think we are, as a gaming community, in need of a big blowout of information because, like you say, I think it seems like the rest of this year is pretty dry, and I think it'd be nice to know what is left to come, particularly if there are some dates set against some of these things as well. But yeah, okay, well, I think that kind of rounds up the show, to be honest, chaps, and really grateful for your input, chat. As always, you've been on fire. It's always nice when the community can throw us questions. There was a few others in there that BMG put in that we'll probably tackle on a different show. Yeah, please, if you're not part of our Discord channel, join. The link should be below in the description. It's a good place to be. We hang out. The conversation continues outside of the shows. And like I say, sometimes little topics kind of are born out of those little conversations that we can bring to the show and have a bigger discussion around. So that's really cool. GPG Crew, thank you very much for being here. Always a pleasure, as always. We'll try and bring you a show Thursday if we can. Hope you enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Hope you play whatever games you can today. Have a safe time, and we will see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Take care.